Look, everyone's acting like I committed some terrible crime, but they weren't even there. My name is Holly Carver, and I'm 36 years old. I work in corporate administration and was 3 months away from my dream wedding when this ridiculous drama started. My fiancé Robert, who, by the way, never had issues with my fun side before, suddenly couldn't handle a few harmless bachelorette party videos. My maid of honor Joanna, supposedly my best friend since college, turned on me too. The lighting in that hotel bathroom made everyone look trashy, and the dancer was just doing his job. I only tucked Robert's grandmother's ring in my clutch because that's what any responsible bride would do. But let me start from the beginning. I was half asleep when my phone buzzed that morning. 7:12 a.m. Who texts that early? I fumbled for my phone, squinting at the screen. My stomach dropped when I saw Robert's name, just 2 words. Saw videos, moving. I bolted upright, suddenly wide awake. The bedroom felt too quiet, too still. Robert's side of the bed hadn't been slept in. How had I not noticed? My feet hit the cold floor as I stumbled to his dresser. Empty. Every drawer pulled out, clothes gone, hangers askew in the closet like someone had grabbed everything in a hurry. Remember how your mom used to say nothing good happens after midnight? Well, nothing good happens before 8 a.m. either, especially when your phone won't stop vibrating with notifications. I tried calling Robert. Straight to voicemail. Again. By the 3rd try, my hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. The spare key we kept in the kitchen drawer was gone too. He must have come while I was sleeping off last night's champagne. Around 10, his sister Melissa, who never liked me anyway, forwarded a video I hadn't seen before. You know that sinking feeling when you watch yourself do something stupid? This was worse. The dancer, I think his name was Chad or Chase, had his cowboy hat tilted just so, lifting me off the ground while I kicked my legs like some college freshman at her first frat party. Someone yelled, "Take the ring off!" And there I was, laughing like it was the funniest thing ever, slipping Robert's grandmother's ring into my clutch. Real classy, Melissa wrote. Hope it was worth it. I remember the weight of that ring when Robert proposed. The way his grandmother's diamond caught the light. How he told me it had been in his family for 3 generations. The way his hands trembled slightly as he slid it onto my finger. God, that feels like a lifetime ago now. My phone buzzed again. The wedding venue this time. Their cheerful reminder felt like a slap. Both signatures required by Friday at 5 p.m., or they'd release our date and keep the $6,000 deposit. $6,000. Robert had covered most of it after I promised to reimburse him once the honeymoon fund cleared. This was salvageable, right? Just a misunderstanding blown out of proportion by bad camera angles and worse timing. I kept telling myself that as I paced my apartment, watching that damn video over and over. The bathroom's fluorescent lights made everything look seedier than it was. The music was too loud, the laughter too shrill. And there I was, frozen in the final frame, smiling like I didn't have a care in the world. You want to know the worst part? It wasn't even fun. I was nervous the whole time, trying to prove I could still hang with the younger girls from work who came along, trying not to be the boring bride who sits in the corner nursing 1 drink all night. Now here I was, watching myself smile at the camera like some sort of, I don't even know what. Robert's words kept flashing through my mind. Saw videos. Moving. I spent the next few hours hunched over my laptop, crafting what I called a clarification email. Not an apology. Apologizing meant admitting I'd done something seriously wrong, which I hadn't. The cursor blinked at me while I tried to find the right words to explain how everything had been blown completely out of proportion. Dear Robert, I typed, then backspaced. Too formal. Rob? No, he hated that nickname. Hey, I wrote finally, we need to talk about those videos. I know how they look, but context matters. The sunlight crept across my desk as I rewrote that email maybe 15 times. You know how sometimes you can stare at words so long they stop making sense? That's where I was, second-guessing every sentence, trying to sound casual but sincere. Like back in college when I'd spend hours crafting the perfect just checking in text to a guy I liked. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Another video link. The familiar knot in my stomach tightened as I clicked play. The bar's neon signs cast everything in this sickly purple glow that made me look 10 years older. There I was, perched on a bar stool, shot glass raised high. My voice cut through the thumping music, clear as a bell. What happens in Palm Grove stays in Palm Grove. The shot went down. The crowd cheered. past me threw her head back laughing. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the whole desk shook. My coffee mug rattled, spilling cold coffee onto my clarification notes. People only keep the worst moments, I muttered, dabbing at the spreading stain with a tissue. Nobody's sharing the videos of me drinking water or checking my phone, are they? The more I thought about it, the more obvious it became. This had to be coordinated. Someone was definitely out to get me. Maybe Melissa, who'd always thought Robert could do better. Or Katie from accounting, who'd tried way too hard to get invited to the Bachelorette party. They were probably all sitting around right now, laughing, sharing these clips in some group chat I wasn't part of. I needed backup. Someone who'd understand. I called Joanna. She'd been my friend since college. She knew me better than anyone. "Joe," I said the moment she picked up. "You were there. You saw how it really was. Everyone's making it seem like..." "Holly." Her voice had that careful tone, like she was choosing her words. "Maybe take a breath before you do anything else." "I'm breathing fine," I snapped. "I'm drafting an email to explain everything to Robert. Once he understands..." "What's there to explain?" Joanna cut in. "The videos are pretty clear." "Clear? They're 10-second clips. Nobody's showing the hours I spent just talking to people or how many times I said no to drinks." My voice was rising. I could feel my face getting hot. "You're supposed to be on my side." "I am on your side," she said quietly. "That's why I'm telling you to be careful. Whatever you're planning." "I don't need careful," I said. "I need to get ahead of this before more people see those videos. You know what? Never mind. I'll handle it myself." I hung up before she could respond. Fine. If everyone wanted to believe the worst, I'd show them they were wrong. I reopened my laptop, cracked my knuckles, and started a new draft. This time, I'd make them understand. Wednesday morning stretched out like a rubber band about to snap. I'd called Robert 6 times since Monday, straight to voicemail every time. When my phone finally lit up with his name around noon, my hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. "Robert?" My voice came out higher than I meant it to. "Thank God. Look, I know you're upset about those videos, but if you'll just let me..." "Holly." His voice was so controlled, so measured, it made my skin crawl. Like he was talking to a difficult client instead of his fiancée. "We're not engaged right now. Don't come to my family's house. Return my grandmother's ring by Friday. After that, please don't contact me." The words hit like ice water. Not the message, I barely processed that, but his tone. Robert got passionate about everything from coffee brands to baseball stats. This flatness felt wrong, like someone else was using his voice. "Right now," I repeated, clinging to those 2 words. "You said we're not engaged right now. So once you've had time to..." "Goodbye, Holly." The line went dead. I sat there staring at my phone, those 2 words echoing in my head. Right now, right now. He hadn't said never, or it's over. He'd said right now. That meant this was temporary, right? Like when we'd taken that break 2 years ago after that stupid fight about his ex being at his cousin's wedding. We'd gotten past that. We'd get past this. Remember how your mom used to say everything looks better after a good night's sleep? Well, this was like that. Robert just needed time to cool off, to see things clearly. I mean, who throws away a 3-year relationship over one wild night? Around midnight, curled up in bed with my 3rd glass of wine, I texted Joanna. "Just got off the phone, WW Robert. Says we're not engaged right now, and wants his grandmother's ring back by Friday. But he specifically said right now, which means temporary, right? Like he's leaving the door open?" Her response came fast. "He means it." My fingers flew across the screen. "What do you know? Has his sister been talking to you?" "Holly, stop. He means it." The betrayal hit like a slap. Joanna was supposed to be my best friend, my maid of honor. Instead, she was parroting his family's stance like some brainwashed minion. "Wow," I typed back. "Guess I know whose side you're really on, traitor." I threw my phone across the bed, watching it bounce off the pillow Robert used to use. Fine. If Joanna wanted to play perfect little angel with his family, let her. She probably thought she could slide into my spot at their Sunday dinners, like she hadn't been jealous of that from day one. The wine glass was empty. I stared at the ceiling, repeating those 2 words like a prayer. Right now, right now, right now. This was fixable. I just needed everyone to stop overreacting and let me explain. My phone buzzed with another text from Joanna, but I ignored it. Some friend she turned out to be. I pulled the covers up, convincing myself that tomorrow would be different. Robert would calm down, the videos would stop circulating, everything would go back to normal. Right now wasn't forever. It couldn't be. Thursday morning hit like a hangover, even though I hadn't touched a drop. The venue's automated reminder popped up on my phone. 24 hours until signature deadline. $6,000. Our perfect October date. All those deposits we'd already paid. This whole mess needed fixing fast. I grabbed my makeup bag, determined to at least look put together. The ring would help. Nothing said, "I've got this under control," like his grandmother's vintage diamond catching the light. Maybe I'd take a subtle photo, something casual but elegant to remind everyone what this was really about. Our future, not some stupid party video. The clutch from Saturday was still stuffed in my gym bag, buried under the outfit I'd changed out of at the hotel. The silver sequins looked tired now, like New Year's confetti in February. I dug around for the ring box, fingers brushing against wadded receipts and a sticky compact mirror. You know that moment in horror movies where someone's about to open a door they shouldn't? That's how my hand felt, hovering over the velvet box, which was ridiculous. I remembered putting the ring in there. Clearly remembered slipping it off when that idiot with the camera started yelling about it. The box was empty. My stomach dropped through the floor. I dumped the clutch onto my kitchen counter, scattering lipstick tubes and crumpled bills like evidence at a crime scene. No ring, not under the lining, not tangled in the chain strap, not anywhere. Okay, think, I muttered, pressing my palms against my temples. What exactly happened after the dancer? The after-party tab flashed through my mind. Rounds of shots, appetizers we never ate, that bottle of champagne someone insisted on. The manager holding my clutch while I dug for my credit card. The declined transaction. His raised eyebrow as I frantically tried another card. Then, relief. Sweet, temporary relief when he handed the clutch back and said we were all set. "No," I whispered, but my hands were already reaching for my wallet. The pawn ticket was there, creased and accusing, tucked behind my driver's license. Sunrise Pawn and Jewelry, printed in faded blue ink, along with Saturday's date and a number I didn't want to look at too closely. The memory surfaced like a body in a lake. Standing outside the bar, credit cards maxed, panic rising. The pawn shop's neon sign cutting through the dark. The night clerk's bored expression as he examined the ring under his lamp. The cash in my hand feeling like a lifeline, enough to cover the tab, enough to make the night end smoothly. I'd convinced myself it was temporary, a quick fix. No one would even notice for a day or two, and I'd get it back before Robert asked for it back. Before Friday at 5 p.m. My phone lit up with another venue reminder. The pawn ticket seemed to pulse in my hand, the redemption amount staring up at me. Way more than I had in my account. Way more than I could scrape together in 24 hours. I slid down against the kitchen cabinets, surrounded by the scattered contents of my clutch. The empty ring box sat on the counter above me like a tiny coffin. What the hell was I supposed to do now? I stared at the pawn ticket until the numbers blurred. $3,000. The clerk had practically smirked when he offered it, like he knew exactly what kind of desperate bride-to-be stumbles in at midnight with a family heirloom. Remember how clear everything seems when you're panicking? The tab was astronomical. All those rounds for my last night of freedom, plus that stupid champagne tower no one even finished. My cards kept declining and the manager kept hovering, and everyone was getting that awkward, who's going to handle this look. The ring had felt so heavy in my clutch, like it was offering itself as a solution. It's just for a day or two, I'd told myself, tottering down the street in heels that suddenly felt too tight. I'll get it back before anyone even asks about it. The pawn shop's fluorescent lights had hummed like judgment. The night clerk barely looked up from his phone as I slid the ring across the counter. He'd weighed it, squinted through his loupe, and named his price with the enthusiasm of someone ordering lunch. I pressed my forehead against the cool granite of my kitchen counter. The morning sun caught the empty ring box, making the velvet look shabby and worn. My phone showed 10:47 a.m. Less than 30 hours until the venue deadline. My fingers shook as I dialed the pawn shop. Each ring felt like another nail in my coffin. "Sunrise Pawn," a bored voice answered. Different from the night clerk, but with that same couldn't-care-less tone. "Hi, I pawned a ring there Saturday night. An engagement ring." My voice cracked on engagement. "I need to get it back today. It's really important." Hold number? I read off the crumpled ticket. Keyboard clicking. 3,000 to redeem, plus fees. I know, but I swallowed hard. Could you maybe hold it longer? Or take a partial payment? It's a family piece and I really need 3,000, cash or card. No partials, no extensions. More clicking. Hold expires in 13 days. But I need it by tomorrow. The words burst out before I could stop them. Then bring $3,000. He hung up. I paced my apartment, mental math spinning like a roulette wheel. My checking account was a joke. Savings had been drained for the wedding. Credit cards were maxed from the Bachelorette weekend. The venue needed both signatures by tomorrow at 5, or we'd lose the October date and the $6,000 deposit. Robert wanted his grandmother's ring back by the same deadline. The empty ring box mocked me from the counter. I picked it up, ran my thumb over the worn velvet. The price tag was still stuck to the bottom. Some vintage jewelry store where Robert's grandmother had had it relined years ago. Wait. I turned the box over, studying the shop's faded logo. Vintage, antique, estate jewelry. My heart started racing, but not from panic this time, from possibility. If I could find a similar ring, something vintage, something close enough, I could buy myself time. Just enough to get the real ring out of hock before anyone examined it too closely. Robert's mother collected estate pieces. She'd taught me about Art Deco settings and old European cuts. I'd paid attention, mostly to impress her. Now, those lessons felt like a lifeline. I grabbed my laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Vintage engagement rings, Art Deco diamond solitaire, 1920s platinum setting. Pages of results popped up. Some even offered same-day pickup. My hands were steady now. I had a plan. I found it at the third vintage shop, a platinum solitaire that could have been the twin of his grandmother's ring. The same delicate mill-grain edges, similar age-softened prongs. The stone wasn't quite as large, but who really memorizes carats? The important thing was the overall look, the way it caught the light just right. "It's a genuine Art Deco piece," the saleswoman said, angling it under the display lights. "Circa 1925. I nodded like I was considering it carefully, like my hands weren't shaking as I handed over my last functioning credit card. The limit warning popped up on my phone immediately. $3,247 available, reduced to $127. Whatever. Money would sort itself out once everything was fixed. Back home, I slid the ring into the old velvet box. It settled in perfectly, looking like it had always been there. The afternoon light caught it just right, making it sparkle almost exactly like I remembered the original doing. You know that feeling when a plan starts coming together? When you can finally see past the panic to the solution? I opened my laptop and started planning what I called Operation Forgiveness Brunch in my head. His mother always hosted Sunday brunch. It was basically a religion in their family. I'd show up early before Robert arrived, with those little lemon cupcakes she loves from the fancy bakery downtown. The ones that remind me of countless other Sunday mornings. All of us crowded around her dining room table, Robert's hand warm on my knee under the tablecloth. I pulled up my photos from the Bachelorette weekend, carefully selecting the tamest moments. Me laughing with the girls at dinner, posing with virgin cocktails early in the night, hugging everyone goodbye at breakfast. Nothing incriminating, nothing that showed how the night spiraled. I arranged them into a slideshow, added some soft background music. See? Just girlfriends celebrating. That dancer barely featured at all. "This is going to work," I whispered to my reflection as I practiced my speech. "He just needs to see how much effort I'm making." My phone buzzed. A text from Joanna. "Please tell me you're not planning anything drastic." I ignored it. She'd lost her vote when she sided with them. In bed that night, I kept picking up the ring box, opening and closing it, watching the stone catch my bedside lamp's glow. The fake looked good. Really good. And anyway, it was just temporary, just until I could get the real one back. A bridge to buy me time. Sleep came in fits and starts. Every time I dozed off, I saw fragments of those videos playing behind my eyelids. The dancer's cowboy hat sailing through the air, my head tipping back for the body shot, my own voice saying things I swore I'd never said. Joanna's warning echoed, "He means it." But she was wrong. She had to be wrong. Because I had a plan now, and plans always worked if you believed in them hard enough, right? I clutched the ring box to my chest like a talisman. Tomorrow, I'd make everything right. Tomorrow, I'd prove everyone wrong. Tomorrow, they'd all see I wasn't the villain in this story. The cupcakes would smell like forgiveness. The slideshow would erase those other videos, and the ring would be our bridge back to normal. It had to work. I'd make it work. Friday morning hit like a spotlight. I smoothed my cream silk blouse, his favorite, and checked my reflection one last time. The woman in the mirror looked pulled together, apologetic but not desperate. Perfect. The bakery box sat on my passenger seat, 12 perfect little lemon cupcakes nestled inside, each one topped with a crystallized violet, just like his mother always ordered for special occasions. The familiar scent of butter and citrus filled the car, triggering memories of countless family brunches. Remember last Easter? How she'd beamed when I helped arrange the dessert table? That's who I still was. The almost daughter who knew exactly how she took her tea. I pulled into their circular driveway at 10:45, 15 minutes before Robert usually arrived for Sunday brunch. The stone house looked exactly as it always did, window boxes bursting with geraniums, brass knocker gleaming, like nothing had changed, like I still belonged here. My hands shook slightly as I gathered my props, cupcakes, USB drive with the slideshow, and my small clutch containing the ring box. The morning sun felt too bright, making me squint as I approached the familiar front door. You know that moment before a big presentation when your mouth goes dry, when you can hear your own heartbeat? The venue's deadline pulsed in the back of my mind, 7 hours until they released our date, but I pushed it away. Focus on now, on fixing this. I'd already planned exactly how I'd text him once his mother softened. The deposit deadline's today. Let's not lose our perfect date over one misunderstanding. I practiced my opening line one more time under my breath. I know things look bad, but please let me show you what really happened. Light, casual, but with just enough gravity. The kind of tone that says, I acknowledge your concerns, but also this isn't that serious. The knocker felt heavier than usual. Or maybe that was just my nerves making everything feel more significant. I adjusted the bakery box, making sure the gold logo faced forward. Every detail mattered today. I expected to hear Robert's familiar footsteps in the hall. Instead, the door opened to reveal his mother, Marilyn. She wore one of her typical Sunday brunch outfits, tailored slacks, silk blouse, pearls, but her usual warm smile was replaced by something tighter, more controlled. Holly. Her voice was perfectly neutral. Too neutral. This is unexpected. I lifted the bakery box like a peace offering. I brought your favorite lemon cupcakes. From Madeline's? I tried to catch her eye, to establish that old connection. I thought maybe we could all talk. I have some things to show you that will explain everything. She hesitated just a fraction too long before stepping back to let me in. The foyer looked unchanged. Same gleaming hardwood floors, same family photos lining the walls. I clutched my props closer, suddenly uncertain. Where was Robert's car? He should be arriving any minute for their standing brunch date. I moved toward the dining room on autopilot, my heels clicking against the floor. The table was bare. No place settings, no coffee cups, none of the usual Sunday morning bustle. My stomach clenched, but I forced my voice to stay light. Should we wait for Robert in the living room? I asked, already turning that direction. I brought a little presentation that I think will clear everything up. I set the cupcake box on the kitchen counter, right next to the crystal fruit bowl that always caught the morning light. The familiarity of the space made my hands steadier as I pulled out my laptop. This would work. It had to work. Let me just get this set up, I said, keeping my voice light as I connected the USB drive. Robert's going to love how I've put this together. You know how he appreciates when things are organized. I smiled at Marilyn, trying to catch a glimpse of the woman who'd helped me pick out table linens just 2 weeks ago. She stood perfectly still, arms crossed. Holly, Robert isn't coming. I forced a laugh, the sound too sharp in the quiet kitchen. Of course he is. It's Sunday brunch. I waved my hand like I could brush away her words. He'll want to see this. I've got everything documented, time-stamped. Once he sees the actual footage... He's not coming, she repeated, each word precise as a pin drop. My fingers fumbled with the laptop power cord. Well, then we'll start without him. Look. I reached for my clutch, pulling out the velvet box with what I hoped was a confident flourish. I even had his grandmother's ring professionally cleaned. See how it catches the light? I opened the box, holding it out to her. The diamond sparkled under the recessed kitchen lights. Maybe not exactly the same as before, but close enough. Who really memorizes a ring's specific glitter pattern anyway? Marilyn stepped closer, her expression shifting as she studied the stone. The silence stretched, became something heavy and alive. Then, "That's not our stone." "What?" My voice came out higher than I meant it to. "Of course it is. I just had it cleaned, that's all. The lighting in here is different than usual. I wore that ring for 30 years before Robert gave it to you," she said quietly. "I know every facet, every slight inclusion. That is not my mother's ring." The air in the kitchen felt suddenly thick, like trying to breathe underwater. "You're confused," I insisted. But my words sounded hollow even to me. "It's the same ring." "Why wouldn't it be the same ring?" She didn't answer, just kept looking at the stone with those knowing eyes. I snapped the box shut, my palms sweating against the velvet. "Listen, this whole thing has been blown so out of proportion. If everyone would just let me explain." A knock at the front door cut through the tension. Before either of us could move, it opened, and I heard familiar footsteps in the hall. Joanna appeared in the kitchen doorway, stopping short when she saw me. Her eyes went straight to the velvet box in my hand, then to my laptop on the counter. The recognition in her expression made my stomach lurch. "What are you doing here?" I asked, but the question came out weak, defensive. Joanna took another step into the kitchen, her hand dipping into her purse. The morning light from the window caught her face, and I remembered countless brunches where we'd laughed in this same spot, sharing mimosas and secrets. But her expression now was different, closed off, determined. "Don't," I said, though I wasn't sure what I was trying to stop. She pulled out a folded slip of paper, creased and slightly wrinkled. My throat went dry as she placed it deliberately on the granite countertop, right next to my laptop. Even upside down, I recognized that shade of pink paper, that official letterhead. It was the pawn receipt from my wallet, the one I'd been certain was safely tucked away. "You left this in my car," Joanna said quietly. "Last week when I drove you home from that emergency coffee meeting you insisted on. It must have fallen out of your wallet." The room tilted slightly. I could feel Marilyn's presence behind me, knew she was looking at that damning piece of paper. My hands started to tingle, like they always did before a panic attack. "You went through my things?" I tried to sound outraged, but my voice came out reedy and thin. That's a violation of privacy. You had no right to." "It was on my car floor, Holly." Joanna's voice was steady, almost gentle. The pity in it made me want to scream. "Right next to the passenger seat where you'd been sitting." "This is a betrayal," I said, the words rushing out. "You're supposed to be my maid of honor, my best friend. Instead, you're here." "What? Conspiring with his family? Taking his side?" "There aren't sides here," Joanna said. "There's just what happened and what didn't happen, what's real and what isn't." She glanced at the velvet box still clutched in my hand. "That receipt is dated the night of your bachelorette party, the same night you were wearing his grandmother's ring." I felt Marilyn shift behind me, heard her sharp intake of breath. The weight of their combined judgment pressed against my skin like a physical thing. "You don't understand," I said, the words tumbling out. "The card machine was down, they wouldn't take a check, and the bar tab I was going to get it back right away. I just needed to." My phone buzzed in my pocket, the familiar tone of a group text notification. Through the fabric of my dress, I could see Robert's name in the preview. My fingers trembled as I pulled out the phone, swiping to open the message. The screen seemed to pulse with each beat of my racing heart. The timestamp showed 11:42 a.m. My vision blurred around the edges as I stared at his name, at the words waiting beneath it. The screen lit up with 2 messages sent within seconds of each other. The first one hit like a slap. "I want everyone to know the wedding is canceled. Please respect my wishes and don't engage with Holly going forward." Before I could even process those words, the second message appeared. "I'll be changing my number after I get my remaining things from the apartment. Thank you all for understanding." The phone felt alien in my hand, like it belonged to someone else entirely. The kitchen light buzzed overhead, too bright and somehow too dim at the same time. I remembered the way Robert had helped Marilyn install that fixture last Christmas, how he'd joked about electrical work being a metaphor for relationships, something about proper connections and avoiding short circuits. "Holly." Marilyn's voice came from somewhere far away. I couldn't look at her, couldn't bear to see whatever expression she was wearing. The group chat showed those little dots appearing as people started responding. Heart emojis from his sisters. "We're here for you," from his aunt. A simple, "Love you, son," from his father. The messages blurred together, a stream of support I was locked out of forever. "I can explain," I said to no one in particular. "If everyone would just listen." A soft metallic sound cut me off. I turned to see Joanna sliding the delicate silver bracelet, the one I'd given her when I'd asked her to be my maid of honor, off her wrist. The tiny charm caught the light, two intertwined hearts, meant to symbolize our friendship. We'd gotten tipsy on Prosecco that night, crying happy tears and promising we'd be in each other's lives forever. She stepped closer, her perfume familiar, the same vanilla and jasmine she'd worn since college. Without a word, she took my free hand and pressed the bracelet into my palm. The metal was still warm from her skin. "Joe, please," I whispered. But she was already turning away. Her heels clicked against the tile floor, each step precise and final. The front door opened, then closed with a soft click that somehow hurt more than if she'd slammed it. The kitchen felt massive now, too big and too empty all at once. My carefully arranged cupcakes sat in their pink box on the counter, the buttercream starting to soften in the late morning warmth. One of them had tipped slightly, smearing frosting against the clear plastic window. They were Robert's favorite. Dark chocolate with salted caramel. I'd special ordered them from that bakery across town, the one that always had a line out the door. My gaze drifted to the fake ring, still nestled in its velvet box. The stone caught the overhead light and threw it back, almost mocking. It had seemed like such a clever solution in the jewelry store. Now it just looked cheap and desperate, like everything else about this morning. The group chat kept buzzing. Message after message of support and love, none of it meant for me. I watched Robert's contact photo, the one from our trip to Maine last summer, appear next to another message. "Thanks, everyone. I'll call you each individually later." I dropped my purse on the kitchen counter, not caring when it tipped over and spilled its contents. The fake ring clattered across the granite, coming to rest next to the original velvet box, empty, accusing. Even in the apartment's dim afternoon light, you could tell the replacement stone wasn't quite right. The facets didn't catch the light the same way Robert's grandmother's diamond had. My laptop was still open from this morning's hasty exit. I needed to check on the venue situation, figure out if there was any way to salvage the deposit without Robert's signature. The screen woke with a tap, my email already open. Subject, date released, deposit forfeit. My throat closed up. I clicked it with trembling fingers, though I already knew what it would say. The timestamp mocked me. 5:01 p.m. While I'd been standing in Marilyn's kitchen watching my entire life implode, the deadline had ticked by without ceremony. "Thank you for your interest in celebrating your special day with us. As per our agreement, without both signatures by the specified deadline, we have released your date and the deposit is non-refundable." I slammed the laptop shut so hard the sound echoed off the bare walls. $6,000. Gone. Just like that. The walls seemed to press in closer, reminding me how many photos I'd taken down last week, planning to replace them with wedding pictures. Remember that morning in the venue's garden? The coordinator walking us through the space. Robert's hand warm in mine as we imagined string lights and flower arrangements. The way he'd whispered, "This is perfect," and I'd felt so sure of everything. My heels clicked against the hardwood as I paced, each step taking me past another reminder. The empty coat hook where his jacket used to hang, the spot on the bookshelf where he'd kept his favorite coffee mug, the window seat where we used to share Sunday morning coffee, planning our future. "It's not fair," I said to the empty apartment. "One stupid night shouldn't erase everything. If I hadn't gone to that club, if I'd just stayed at the hotel bar, if I'd been more careful with the ring, if I'd thought of a better solution than pawning it, if I'd actually apologized instead of trying to explain it away. If. The setting sun stretched shadows across the floor like accusatory fingers. I could see the exact moment each choice had led me here, but somehow couldn't understand how I'd arrived at this ending. My phone buzzed against the counter. Unknown number. Probably another friend who'd seen the videos, eager to check in while fishing for gossip. I let it go to voicemail. The silence afterward felt heavier, broken only by the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic below. The laptop sat closed on the counter, that email waiting inside like a digital death certificate for everything I'd planned. $6,000. Our perfect garden venue. The carefully chosen date that worked for everyone's schedules. All of it, slipping away while I'd been busy trying to orchestrate a grand gesture with fake diamonds and store-bought cupcakes. The evening shadows crept across my apartment, turning familiar corners into strange, dark spaces. I hadn't bothered turning on any lights. What was the point? The darkness felt right, like it matched everything else about this disaster of a day. Those stupid cupcakes were still sitting in their pink bakery box on the dining table. I'd spent 40 minutes picking them out this morning, making sure the frosting swirls were perfect, convinced they'd help smooth things over. Now the frosting was melting, drooping sadly in the warmth of the apartment. Just like everything else today, wilting, failing, falling apart. My phone screen glowed on the counter, that awful email still open. Date released. 2 words that somehow managed to sound both clinical and final, like a doctor pronouncing time of death. The crack in my screen split right through the middle of released, making it look jagged and broken. Fitting. I pressed my palms against the cool counter, trying to ground myself. The apartment felt huge suddenly. Too big. Too quiet. When was the last time I'd been here alone on a Friday night? Robert usually came over with takeout, or we'd meet friends for drinks, or... My throat tightened, but I refused to cry. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction, even with no one here to see it. They all thought I was horrible anyway. The drunk bride-to-be who couldn't handle her bachelorette party, who pawned her fiancé's family heirloom, who tried to replace it with a fake. Why confirm their opinion with tears? The empty ring box caught my eye, sitting there like a little velvet accusation. I picked it up, ran my thumb over the soft material. The hinge squeaked slightly as I opened it, the indent where the ring should have been a perfect hollow reminder of everything I'd lost. With deliberate care, I snapped it shut again. The sound was sharp in the quiet apartment, almost satisfying. I set it down next to my phone, adjusting it until the edges lined up perfectly with the counter. There. That small bit of order felt important somehow, like if I could just arrange these symbols of my failure neatly enough, everything else might fall back into place too. Taking a deep breath, I straightened my shoulders. The air left my lungs in a steady stream, and with it came a clarity I hadn't felt all day. Everyone was acting like I'd committed some huge crime, but really? It was one night, one party. Some silly videos that looked worse than they were. If Robert had really loved me, truly loved me, the way he claimed, he wouldn't have let this destroy everything we'd built. If he loved me, I muttered, staring at the ring box and my cracked phone screen, one video wouldn't matter. The words hung in the air, solid and certain. And there it was. The truth no one else seemed to understand. I wasn't the one who'd given up. I wasn't the one who'd thrown away 3 years over a few minutes of footage. I'd tried to fix things, hadn't I? Maybe not perfectly, but I'd tried. He was the one who'd walked away. He was the one who couldn't handle a little bad publicity. He was the one who'd let his family turn this into some huge scandal. I nodded to myself, jaw set. One video wouldn't matter, I repeated, firmer this time.